Well, I guess sometimes if you're going to do something, go all the way with it, right? The absolute worst thing you could do is half-ass it. You see that when you have those individuals that try to appease and please everyone. Ends up, they please no one. And sometimes they piss everybody off. Do it. Take a stand, like go one way, go the other. It's like when you see those politicians talking about bipartisanship and coming together to work together. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Like we pretend that we do, but we don't. We don't. We just don't. And I say that to say, like, if you're going to be good, then go all the way. And if you're going to suck, go all the way. Don't be mediocre either way, because that's the worst spot to be. And I will certainly say, my picks last week were god-awful. They were terrible. They were horrendous. Sometimes you have weeks like that. It's better to flush all that negativity out. Some of it felt ridiculous, like Pittsburgh beating the Buccaneers, but hey, the Bucs aren't that good this year. Like stuff happens. And sometimes it's not trusting your own gut. Like, I think about the Jets and Packers game. I think I even talked about it in the picks video last week of, I don't feel good about this line because the Packers aren't that good. And sometimes you got to avoid the trap of thinking about a team, well, there ain't no way this team's going to lose or that this quarterback's going to do this because of past reputation and history. It doesn't necessarily match the current reality. So I was really bad last week. Like, only 3-11 against the spread. I think that's the worst week I've ever had. It was really, really, truly, truly, beyond a shadow of a doubt, just absolutely god-awful. So I've got to flush that out and move forward. That's the best I can do here. So let's do that, shall we? And I'm going to start off with my picks for week number 7. And at least I can say, if nothing else, I'm already starting off on a better trajectory because I had the Thursday night game right. Had Arizona minus the 2.5, so that's positive. I will take it. But one game does not a week of success make, that's for sure. Especially considering last week's results that were just unbelievably bad. Just brutally bad. Good Lord. So let's take a look at my picks for this week. Like I said, I had Arizona over New Orleans with the 2.5 come Thursday night. In terms of the early Sunday matchups, you've got the Falcons traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. And for some reason, the Bengals are 6.5-point favorites here. This one I don't get. I really don't. Because to me, there's nothing that is an indication that the Bengals are that much of a better team than the Falcons right now. They're both 3-3. The Bengals have been disappointing. I wouldn't say the Falcons have been great, but 3-3 is 3-3 right now, so it's not that much different. This feels a little too heavy. Like, yes, I do like the Bengals in the matchup, but I do think the Falcons can cover that 6.5-point spread. I really do. You've got the Lions coming off of a bye week, traveling to Dallas to take on Dak Prescott. He's returning to action, it sounds like, and the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys coming off of the Sunday night loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. They come in as 6.5-point favorites. And again, I look at this one and I say, yes, the Lions are 1-4. They're not a good team, but they're 5-1 against the spread this year. It's got to count for something. Meanwhile, Dak's coming back after being out for several weeks. Like, could he be a little bit rusty? I like the Cowboys to win, but again, I like the Lions to cover the 6.5 spread. You've got the Colts under a suddenly resurgent, 1-week fluke performance by Matt Ryan, traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. I like the Titans minus the 2.5 in that matchup. You've got the Packers traveling to Washington to take on the Commanders. The Commanders, now without Carson Wentz, are going to be playing Taylor Heineke. And the Packers coming in at 3-3 and looking like all types of hot garbage on offense and a defense that lets them down at key moments and key stretches. Like, this is an absolutely critical game for the Green Bay Packers. But I got to confess right now, even, that 4.5-point spread scares the shit out of me. Like, yeah, we know the Commanders suck, no question. But what is there to indicate right now that the Packers don't suck too? You're going to keep picking the Packers every week? against that spread with the hope that, oh, they'll figure it out. You know, maybe they have figured it out, and we're just figuring out that they're not that good and that Rodgers is starting to be a little washed. I will, one more time, pick the Packers minus the 4.5 here, but I have some trepidation about that one. You got the Buccaneers traveling to Carolina to take on the Matt Rule-less and now Christian McCaffrey-less Carolina Panthers. The Bucs handled the Panthers easily twice last year when they played them, although that was late in the season. At 13-point spread for the Bucs coming off of a matchup where they lost to the Steelers, that scares me. Like, yikes. I got to take it, though. I got to play it. Tampa Bay minus 13. You got the Giants traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. How crazy is this, right? That the Giants are 5-1, and they're 3-point underdogs on the road to the Jags. Is that an indication that bettors aren't really bought in on this Giants team? Like, yeah, I don't think they're great, but they are certainly well coached, and they're getting the most out of the talent that they have. I'm sorry, but I got to smash the Giants plus the 3 in this one. And then you've got Cleveland traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. The Ravens here are 6.5-point favorites. I like Baltimore to win, but I do like Cleveland to cover the 6.5-point spread. Again, that's a pretty big spread for a divisional matchup for two teams that don't particularly pass the ball at a high level. Switching over to the late Sunday afternoon matchups, you've got the suddenly 4-2 New York Jets traveling to Denver to take on the 2-4 Broncos. At the time of this recording, I don't even know if Russell Wilson's going to play in this game or not. And honestly, I don't even know how much of a deciding factor that is and who I would pick to win this game, frankly. Isn't that sad? Like, the Broncos are 2-4. You know, if they have to go to Brett Rippon, let him Rippon. I'll take Denver minus the 1 because maybe I'll play off of the assumption that Wilson won't play with the hamstring injury. Maybe they'll just choose to rest him for a week, and that Rippon does play, and you don't really notice much of a difference, and maybe the Jets are feeling themselves a little too much after going on the road in Lambeau and winning. I'll take the Broncos minus the 1. You've got the Texans traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Raiders are 7-point favorites now. It's tricky with the Raiders. You look at their record of 1-4 and say this is not a good team. But then when you look at all the games that they played, they've all been close matchups, like one-score games. Even their losses, all one-score losses. Like, this is a team that's been really close that if a couple of breaks went a different way, you're talking about a 3-2 team, maybe even a 4-1 team. So trying to keep that in mind. Meanwhile, the Houston Texans are a team that comes in. We know they're not very good, but they can be competitive. They can give you some problems. So I look at this matchup for the Raiders and I say, in every game that they've been in, it's been really, really close. I don't know that I see any reason that this would be any different. So I like the Raiders to win, but I do like the Texans to cover the 7-point spread. You got the Seahawks traveling Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. I like the Chargers to win this one, but I do like the Seahawks to cover the 5-point spread. And then the big notable matchup late Sunday afternoon, you've got the Chiefs traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers with their newest acquisition, Christian McCaffrey. I'm still going to take the Chiefs minus the 1. Sunday night football, hopefully it'll be a matchup between Kenny Pickett and Tua Tagovailoa, with both of them returning from concussions. You've got Miami as a 7.5-point favorite. Brian Flores is on the Pittsburgh coaching staff. So there's all types of interesting subplots here. I like the Dolphins to win. I like the Steelers to cover the 7.5-point spread. And then Monday night, for some reason, again, the NFL and ESPN have decided they wanted to put Bears football in the primetime spotlight. But here you go. Bill Belichick tied with George S. Halas for second in the all-time head coaching wins list in NFL history. His chance to go solo second place comes against Papa Bear's organization. Yeah, give me the Patriots minus the 8. It's the Bears in prime time. Why would you ever bet on them at this point? I'm just saying. So those are my picks. I don't expect them to be great this week, but I sure as hell hope they will be better and expect them to be better than they were last week.